Try this, sit on a stool and see how much easier it is to loop a backspin ball. Are you having trouble creating friction? Instead of looping the ball, you're just scooping it up. Today, we're going to cover the fundamentals of creating friction. First key point, you can't create friction with a vertical, or open, racket face. With an open racket, the ball makes direct impact, that's a hit, not a brush. But if you close your racket angle, you'll start to feel that brushing sensation. When their serve isn't very spinny, you might develop a bad habit of scooping with an open racket. So, always ensure your racket face is closed first. So how is friction generated? Think of it like a hook serve. A hook serve starts at one point and brushes along a path to create spin. Looping is the same. Your initial contact point shouldn't be the top of the ball. Rather, that should be the starting point for your brush. Then, exert force through your fingers to drive the racket, wrapping around the ball to create friction. If your racket face is too open, you can only brush upwards. But a table tennis stroke is not purely vertical, it must have a forward component. To move forward, your brushing path must follow the ball's curve from one point to another. Therefore, your racket angle should be relatively fixed. Start your contact with the racket face pointing towards the 1 o'clock to 1:30 direction. You must use this angle against backspin, otherwise you won't grip the ball. Second point, is the trajectory of the brush like this? Or like this? It's not from flicking the wrist. True friction comes from brushing around the curvature of the ball. You can visualize your hand drawing an arc on the surface of the ball. It's your fingers that create this arc on the ball. If your fingers move in a straight line, either forward or up, the ball will likely go into the net. So, your fingers must execute an arc. Use this arc from your hand to generate a parabolic trajectory on the ball. For shakehand, the index finger leads. For penhold, it's the middle finger. Your fingers shouldn't just push forward, nor should it just lift upward. Your fingers should lead your wrist and arm to create a small arc, like a mini parabola. This is how the shot is produced. Penhold players also create this arc. Think of it as your fingers starting at the 2 o'clock position on the ball, then brushing up towards 1 o'clock and then 12 o'clock in a small arc. When your fingers move, your wrist will naturally follow. You can't just move your fingers in isolation. Essentially, the fingers lead the wrist action to accelerate the brush. Your technique should feel like you're wrapping around the ball, not pushing or lifting it. Once you master this brushing motion, looping will feel incredibly simple. The motion builds from small to large. First the fingers create an arc, leading the arm, and then the body joins in to create a larger arc. First, the fingers create their arc. Then, that leads the forearm to create an arc. This then engages the upper arm to create an even bigger arc. Finally, this leads your entire body to create a full arc. That is how you execute a standard topspin loop. From your fingers, to your arm, to your upper arm, to your body, it's always an arc. Master this, and you'll be able to power loop. As you make this arc bigger and bigger, you'll discover the essence of the topspin loop. Now for the third key point. Even against heavy backspin, if I close my racket face completely flat, I can still loop the ball up. I'm not afraid of closing the racket, I'm afraid of opening it. An open racket leads to errors. Don't be afraid to close the racket. The more you close it, the more friction you get and the easier it is to generate power. Even with this extreme angle, I can lift the ball. Watch these two strokes closely. Here's the first one. And the second one. My first attempt was brushing from behind the ball, at the same height as the ball. When you're level with the ball and try to brush forward or up, it won't work. Now, why was the second attempt so easy? Because my racket was below the ball. Why can young kids loop so well? Because their center of gravity is naturally low, making it easier to get under a backspin ball. Try this. Sit on a stool and see how much easier it is to loop a backspin ball. When you're sitting, you'll make the shot every time. When your hand starts from a low position, backspin is no longer difficult. The ball has backspin, but if your backswing is too high, you can't possibly brush it effectively. You'll be forced to just lift the ball, because if you close your racket and brush from above, it will go straight into the net. You must brush the ball as it's falling to properly synchronize your forces. Any backspin ball will reach a peak after the bounce. If you try to hit or brush the ball at the peak of its bounce, it will go into the net. So, what is the right contact point for amateurs? Let the ball start to drop after its peak. As the ball is falling, your racket must be lower than the ball, at least by the height of one racket. So you can brush upward as it comes down, creating a synergy of forces. Notice the difference in trajectory. Brushing from behind versus brushing from below the ball. The second one is clearly better. So, amateurs need to fix two things. First, your hand must always be lower than the ball, never at the same height. Second, don't hit the ball at the peak of the bounce. Wait for it to start dropping. To get your body lower than the ball, you need to use a lunge stance. The second thing is to drop your shoulder. After years of playing, my right shoulder is visibly lower than my left. So, when you prepare to loop, you need to incorporate 3 downs. The first down is your right leg in a lunge. The second down is dropping your shoulder. My elbow should be at the same height as my hip. To summarize, drop your shoulder, lower your legs, and drop your wrist. Why are penholders so good at looping? Because during their backswing, their wrist is naturally in a dropped position. This is why looping with a shakehand grip often feels more awkward than with penhold. For shakehand players, your index finger should point towards the ground during the loop to achieve maximum friction. Don't point it sideways. That's a push. Point it down. Then rotate up to brush. Rotate the wrist down. Then brush up. A shakehand player's index finger must point down. Don't point it to the side. Pointing down allows you to create a much fuller arc. Because when you point down and meet the ball, you are naturally wrapping around it. From watching me brush those last few balls, what did you notice? First key observation, was there a change of pace? After a relaxed backswing, did I accelerate at the moment of contact? The reason you can't create friction is because you're using a constant speed. This is the most crucial point. My hand action shows a very clear acceleration. Your rhythm is either fast-fast or slow-slow. My rhythm is slow to fast, a relaxed backswing, then explosive acceleration at contact. You must first loop the ball up. Then you can drive it forward. Combined, this is a loop drive. The moment you contact the ball, your motion cannot be too slow. It must be explosive. You will only brush the ball better once you break down the feeling of the shot. At the point of contact, there should be a distinct snap. You must accelerate at the moment of contact, not during your backswing. Accelerating too early prevents you from gripping the ball.